morning, friends. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope you're all enjoying your day so far, but I hope you are enjoying because we are grateful to have you always to be here with us on the Ria and Alka show. And this is the fifth week. Ria, can you believe this is the fifth week already? And as we keep saying, the time just flies, but we are so grateful that the time that we get to spend with you, it is invaluable, but we are so grateful. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being here with us. And for the last 2 weeks, we have been talking about money, your mindset about money, around money and success. And what do you feel when it comes to money? How do you relate? What are you doing? How are you, what are your goals around money? How do you spend? How do you not spend? And do you overexpend or not invest? So today, Ria is going to be sharing from her book, from Robert Kiyosaki's Financial IQ. So welcome everyone to the show. My name is Alka.
My name is Ria,
and welcome
to our show.
And Ria, so without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic on to you.
Thank you, Alka. So today's topic is chapter 2 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki's Increase Our Financial IQ. And in this book, he calls it financial intelligence versus financial IQ. Now, financial intelligence, for me, when I Googled things up, financial intelligence and financial IQ are the same. In the book, he says they are different. So I don't want you to be confused when I say financial intelligence is related to financial IQ. He says financial intelligence is different from financial IQ. So let me put it that financial intelligence is equivalent to your intelligence on your mental acuity, and financial IQ is how you deploy your intelligence into the real world. So let's begin. Most of us know that a person with a mental IQ of 130 is supposedly smarter than a person with an IQ of 95. The same parallels can be drawn with financial IQ. You can be the equivalent of a genius when it comes to academic intelligence, but the equivalent of a moron when it comes to financial intelligence. So here, there's several words that he used here. A mental IQ of 130 and a person with an IQ of 95. And he also has a word of genius and a word of moron. So let's try to find out what those mean in terms of the scale. So there is a person called Stanford Bennett, and he did a scale on intelligence. In fact, it was named after him. It's called Stanford Bennett Intelligence Scale. So the scale will give the different intelligence level of a person. Now, these are the words. So in the Rich Dad, Increase Your Financial IQ, Rich Dad mentioned the word of a moron, and Rich Dad also mentioned the word of a genius. So genius is having an IQ. This is the mental IQ, okay, of more than 150. So mental IQ is when you take tests. It's a standardized test. You can apply it to the people in the Philippines. You can apply it to people in Europe. You can apply it to people in the USA. You can apply it to everywhere. And that means it's standardized. So whatever the Filipino scored in the Philippines, whatever the European scored in the Europe, whatever the American scored in the US, that will indicate that whatever your score is, it will be comparable to the people in Europe or America. So it's not because you live in US that your score is a lot higher than the people in the Philippines or in the Europe. That's why it's a standardized. You can apply the same test and get the same conclusion as to what the mental IQ is of that person. So when Rich Dad Robert Kiyosaki mentioned genius, your mental IQ using that standardized test, you will score more than 150. When he mentioned a moron in the book, a moron has a mental IQ of 50 to 69. Okay. Now, an average person only needs 90 to 109 of score to be said, oh, you're good. So whatever test you take in your school, you will most likely pass it because your IQ is average, 90 to 109. Now, if your IQ is 110 to 109, you're superior. If your score is 120 to 139, is very superior. They'll call you smart. You know, when your IQ, mental IQ is 110 to 120 to 139, people call you, you're very smart. And people who are genius, you know, they excel fast in the academic world, right? So because their IQ is 140, so whatever test that the teachers gives them, they ace it right away. And they can be accelerated in school, you know, at the age of 8 years old, and they can be accelerated to college level already.
Oh yeah.
Now, on the lower side, dull means your score is lower than the average. So your score is 80 to 89. Borderline deficiency, your score is between 70 to 79. And moron again is 50 to 69. So what Rich Dad Robert Kiyosaki said, a mental IQ of 130 is supposedly smarter than a person of IQ of 95. So if you can see here, superior IQ of 130 is very superior, and a mental IQ of 95 is average. So if we can see, very superior is indeed higher than having an IQ of 95, which belongs to the average level. Now, the same parallels can be drawn with financial IQ. You can be the equivalent of a genius when it comes to academic intelligence, but the equivalent of a moron when it comes to financial intelligence. So what this means is that just because you have an IQ, a very superior IQ of 135, it does not correlate to your money. It does not correlate to your finance. What that means is you can be book smart, but in real life, you can have an IQ of a moron. Why? Because you are struggling. And this is what he said in his book, that his dad, his real dad, who is a PhD, is very intelligent. Okay, he has all the degree and PhD, a master of education. So he's very intelligent. Mental IQ, very, very intelligent. Yet financial intelligence, financial IQ, he was low. I don't know which side here, but his family, his Robert Kiyosaki's rich dad, had a hard time, you know, providing the abundance of life to his family. And this is in his book. I'm not making it up. So what he said, when you have a mental IQ of high, of superior, it does not correlate to your financial IQ. Okay, so now because we are gifted with a mental IQ, then all we need to do is sharpen our financial IQ so that we can raise our financial IQ higher to where our mental IQ is, and that can be learned. Now, in his book, he gave an example. So for example, if a nurse, for example, is making $100,000 of income, or a doctor, let's say a doctor is making $100,000 of income with 20% taxes, right? So this is the United States taxes. This is in his book. I'm not making it up. This is just an example in his book. So 100,000 income of a professional, you'll be taxed 20%. Okay, now your net tax, your net income after taxes is 80,000.
Right.
Now, let's say there's another person, a doctor too, who has an income of 100,000. Now his tax is only 50%. You would say, why is that 50%
Yeah,
tax, Ria.
that's right.
When,
Yeah,
right,
150.
why 50 when this guy is only 20, right? And then the net income of this person, the second person, is 50,000, much lower than this. So the physician in A example, the first example is 80,000 of income net after taxes. Now the second physician is only earning 50,000. Why is the difference? Now you have to remember, just like in real estate, there are, when you are a real estate professional, there are tax incentives. So a physician who is earning a lot of income, and this is just an arbitrary number, 100,000, I guess Robert Kiyosaki used it for easier math, but you can always change that. You can always change the income. But why is this physician earning more than this physician in here? And that is because either the physician has a business, either, you know, he has a medical office, or he has an apartment business, or he has another business that brings about his taxes down to 20%. Whereas this physician here is paying 50%. And that is true for physicians. Yes, you are a high earner, but you're also highly taxed. So a lot of times when you combine the federal and the state taxes of a physician, you will end up paying 50%. So for every dollar you make, you'll be paying 50 cents of your dollar, every dollar you make to the government. And that is good. I'm all for paying taxes because why? The roads get improved. We have better military, you know, we have clean water. So I'm
Better
all for
infrastructure.
taxes. Yes, I'm all for taxes. Now we have to, like we said earlier, we have to work smart and work hard because we are helping the community. We are stimulating our economy. How? By providing jobs through our businesses, by improving our apartments, by improving our buildings. You know, when we improve something, right, and we try to sell it, or they reassess our taxes, we pay higher tax. So because we have businesses, we're providing jobs to our employees, we're providing jobs to our contractors, we're providing good housing to our tenants, then the government incentivizes all of us who are playing by the IRS rules. They're incentivizing us to reduce our taxes. So this physician here is able to reduce his taxes from 50 to 20%. And I tell you, last year, well, in 2020, I paid 0%. So if they join my webinar, I showed them in my webinar how I reduce my taxes, our taxes, my husband and I, down to 0. And this, we were able to reduce it. Why? Because we played by the IRS rules. So you see, my accountant says the IRS has 4,000, several thousands of pages. And those are the map for you to reduce your taxes. They are a roadmap for each and every one of us. There is no discrimination. It applies to the poor. It applies to the middle class. It applies to the wealthy. All you've got to do is follow the rules set by the IRS. It's a roadmap for us to get to where the rich are doing what they're doing and getting the benefits that the IRS is providing them, which is the tax benefit. Now, the 20% here, because they have a business, the 50% here is just an employee. So that's the difference. Now, both of these doctors have financial intelligence. They're very intelligent, right? Because if you remember, with a Stanford Bennett intelligence scale, being a doctor, either your IQ is average or most likely superior or very superior. And I know there are Dr. Doogie Housers out there that are very genius. So being a doctor, you have either a superior, very superior, or genius, Stanford Bennett intelligence. You know, your IQ is high, okay? But like what the book says, Robert Kiyosaki said, yes, we have high IQ, but then our financial IQ is in the moron scale. And why is that? Because of this, right? You're paying 20% here because you're taking advantage of what the IRS wants you to do. Right. And whereas this, you're just an employee, 50%. So you're paying a high tax here. So your financial IQ here is low. He calls it a moron. Why? Because you're only getting 50% net. Whereas this guy, he's getting 80%. That's 30,000 per year. Per year. It's not just a one-time thing. And if you play by the IRS, this, like I said, can be brought down to zero. And that's what me and my husband did, zero tax. And if you constantly repeat it, do what you do and get better at what you do, you're always going to be paying zero effective tax. Now, both have financial IQ. Both are very smart. Mentally, mental IQ, very, very smart. The difference is their financial IQ. 80,000. This guy here, this doctor here, has far higher financial IQ than the doctor earning 50,000. So that's the topic for today. I hope you learned something from that example.
Ria, thank you so much for sharing, friends. I'm not sure about you. Hope you were paying attention. There were a lot of gold nuggets that Ria just shared. I got immense knowledgeable now listening. So Ria, that is amazing. The few points that I was just making notes on, one of them absolutely is, you know, when it comes to labeling. So as a doctor, for example, you were a physician. So, and that's the example you gave. So as a doctor, I know when I was working in the hospital as a medical secretary, that, you know, I was working, you know, with a bunch of doctors, you know, ENT and general physicians. And there were doctors who had their own medical practices. And there are doctors, so they have both the, you know, they're educated, they're well off, they, you know, they have the mental IQ, but they're also financially off as well. And so I like the idea that, you know, when it comes to taxes, to know how can you reduce taxes, because we all want to reduce taxes. We don't want to pay the IRS more than we have to. So when it comes to like lowering your taxes, I think that's the best way. So if you can, and if you can learn how you can do that. So how can people lower their taxes?
That is right. What I can say is they've got to talk to their accountant. So my accountant says, change your facts and you will change your tax. Let me repeat. Change your facts and you can change your tax. Facts means, okay, I'm a physician. What other things can I do that the IRS roadmap, that the IRS map is providing to all the other businesses out there, right? We've got to think, what are the incentives that the IRS is providing to each and every one of us so that I can lower down my taxes? So we, like what I did, I learned apartment. I learned about, you know, buying one apartment, growing and scaling that apartment. Now, when you are a physician, there are rules and regulations you have to follow in getting that real estate professional status. So I would suggest that they talk to their physician, read more about being a business or having an apartment business. You know, being a business, whether you want to have your medical office, your own private practice, or you do something different, which is what I do, which is investing in apartments. And this is where the mentorship lies in now. So I am a physician, an ex-physician, according to my husband, and I teach physicians out there on what I do. And this is how we paid zero tax. So if they want to know more, they can be my students and I will teach and guide them what I have learned over the years.
I think that is brilliant, because I think, you know what, when we can, and if we know how to reduce on the taxes, I think that obviously, I want to reduce taxes. I don't want to pay more than, I have to pay my share of taxes. But obviously, when it comes to IRS here in Canada, we have the CRA. The CRA, obviously, they will hound you if you don't disclose certain information. They will disclose you, and I guess with IRS as well.
Now, my accountant says it is your patriotic duty. It is our patriotic duty. Patriot, your diehard love for your country. You're willing to die for your country.
That's right. Yeah.
It is our patriotic duty to reduce our tax, And what does that mean? We are paying taxes, and we are paying taxes, right? When we have the business, we are paying taxes. Now, because we are stimulating the economy, we are helping our community grow. How? By, number one, paying a lot of taxes because we have a business. Number two, we're employing people in our local community by providing them with jobs. So when we employ people, now they have work. What do they do with their money? They buy a house, they pay for food, they go out to eat, because why? They have income. So not only are we paying a lot of taxes, we're employing people, and we're improving the community. We're improving the building, we're taking care of our tenants, right? So that's how the government is incentivizing us to stimulate more the economy, the community. So when we do these things, it is our patriotic duty to reduce our tax, because that means we are doing something that what the government wants us to do. We are helping our community grow and flourish. So yes, it is. I love paying taxes, and it is our patriotic duty to reduce our tax, because if you are reducing your tax, that means you are an employer. You're providing jobs to your community. You're solving the problems in your community. You are providing houses to the people within your community. So, my dear friends, yes.
So then the essence to that is that, so yeah, to an extent, when we pay our taxes, we are improving the community, we are improving the infrastructure, etc. So when you have money that, that we have money coming in, or that surplus of money that we are wanting that comes in, then only are we able to say, like Ria, you said it's your patriotic duty, then it's our patriotic duty to pay taxes, to pay bills. And we generously, as an opportunity, is to pay the bills. Because then because we have the money, we know we have the mental IQ, but then we also have the financial IQ to know how to circulate, how to, make money. So, I love that point. And I think the final point is that, so we have the mental IQ, and how can the viewers, how can they sharpen their financial IQ even more, even though they may be at a position right now listening to us? How can they sharpen their financial IQ even more?
That's a great question. How? Always how. How can I? It's not you cannot. That's a great question. How can I sharpen my mental IQ? And when I came here, Alka, my mental IQ is high because I came in here as a doctor. I took the exams, passed the exams, and was accepted. So my mental IQ is high, but my financial IQ was a moron. Why? Because I lost over 200,000 in paper loss in my first apartment, in my first American dream home. Okay, so that's what I did. How did I increase it? By improving on my financial IQ. I had to read a lot of books. I had to put in a lot of hours in personal development. I have to learn about finance. Okay, these things, finance, buying apartments, these are not taught in school. I had to do the real homework at home. I was putting in a lot of hours every single day after I came home from work, being employed as a physician. I was doing it on the side. I invested in mentors. I just didn't, yes, I did read books, but mentors shorten your success. So I have mentors. And that's why when my husband and I bought properties, we scaled it to 50 apartment units in 7 to 8 years. And that's where I wrote the book, Apartment Prescription. Without having mentors, I would just be buying one single family home at a time. So right now we're 10 years. I could have only 10 apartment units, 10 and not 67. And we're closing on 3 more and a few more. So you see, learning on your own is good, but also having mentors that would help shorten your success. Mentors that you want to go to where they are. Okay, there's a lot of mentors, but you follow the mentors that want to go where you are. Mentors who want to grow and scale their business too, not mentors who are going down and relaxing.
Exactly. Be with the mentors who are on the trajectory where you want to be, who are that rise. Exactly, be on that rise, because there are so many mentors out there that we know of, and there are so many mentors that you can Google, but are they the right mentors? So absolutely, Ria, thank you so much for sharing that immense great nuggets right there. So friends, we have come to the end of the show, and thank you so much for always tuning in. Thank you so much for being with us. We love being with you and sharing our knowledge that we're imploring on you, so that it helps to grow your business and your life to 10x in your life every single day, every step of the way. So Ria, thank you so much. And if there's one nugget that you do want to share, what is that going to be?
Yes, thank you, Alka. So stay tuned, guys, for more of our Increase Your Financial IQ. One thing I would say, taxes are our biggest expense. Let me repeat, taxes are our biggest expense. So it is your patriotic duty to reduce your tax. How? Ask yourself how. Follow what the IRS map is. Follow what the government wants you to do. So my friends, change your facts so you can lower down your tax. All right, until next time.
I love that. Change your facts so that you can change your tax. Love it, love it. Friends, thank you so much for always tuning in and always just being so great. And we'll love you. We'll love you always. And we so appreciate you being here with us every morning, each and every morning. Enjoy the rest of your day, but making sure that, when it comes to success, especially around money, you are increasing your financial IQ always. And as we said, there are books out there, there's resources that you can take note of that will help you to increase your financial IQ. I mean, we can always use that. We can all use that. Doesn't matter. Even now, today, you might have a sound financial IQ, but we can always improve. So friends, thank you so much. We will see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. So bye.